Ben Gautsch has been associated with UWM since 2010 in various capacities as a student, as a consultant, and as an instructor. Ben holds a master's degree in library and information science from UW-Milwaukee with a focus on academic librarianship. He is currently pursuing doctoral studies in the urban education program within UWM's School of Education. He specializes in adult, continuing, and higher education leadership. As a consultant, Ben focuses on designing and facilitating educational development programs. He addresses transparency and learning and teaching, which I learned from him, which is also known as TILT, right? That was really exciting. And then collaborates with instructors to create evidence-based learning experiences across all learning environments. Finally, as an instructor, Ben has taught courses in administrative leadership and educational psychology. His teaching approach emphasizes active learning, high-impact practices, and real-world experiences tied to clear learning outcomes. Ben joins us today to discuss partnering with AI, building sustainable research workflows. Welcome, Ben.
Oh, what an intro. I don't think I've ever had an intro that exciting before.
Well, I took it off your bio online, so you did write it.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. Today we're going to talk about using ChatGPT to talk to research articles. Something that we all probably come into contact with a lot in our day-to-day, whether you're doing a research project now or you're just writing things or your students are writing research projects. For our session overview, we're going to be learning how to ChatGPT or any AI helper can summarize and discuss research articles. We're going to explore some prompt modeling techniques. We're going to discuss some classroom applications of doing this, and then we're going to have some time to practice hands-on with an article. When we think of document discussion, we're going to kind of play two roles today. We're going to play us as personally as researchers, and then we're also going to play the teacher role as well. But so to start off with personal use, I think using any AI tool with articles is great for quickly summarizing key points, main arguments, clarifying complex terminology or passages. One reason why I mentioned this is because I think it's really good for if you're reaching into another discipline. For instance, I read a lot of professional development, educational development literature. But when I search for things, I find a lot of stuff in human resource literature, right? But they talk about things differently. They use different terms. And so if I've pulled an article and I want to take a chance on it with this, right? I'll use GPT to kind of clarify any of those terms that I don't personally have, but that are relevant to kind of the field overall. Review and revision is a great use of it. So you can use GPT to compare your own notes or summaries. I had an instructor who told me once that they had annotated bibs of a lot of stuff that they were using, and they reran it against GPT. So they were putting the articles back into GPT, but also they had their annotated bib uploaded as well so that it could see what they had already written, but then it was adding new things to it. So it was a different perspective, different points were brought back in from GPT for them to consider to maybe add to that annotated bib or that lit review, generating alternative interpretations, rewording explanations for better understanding. I think it does a pretty solid job of rephrasing things in non-ivory tower academic, big words. You can get it to kind of tell you about things that are in more common language. Drafting and outlining. You can also use this to develop initial outlines for lit reviews, research proposals. I've done that before with a research article that we're looking at right now. Kind of just had it frame out bullet points and or a table. I've tabled things before as well. You just have to ask for it, but you can use it to assist in drafting sections of research papers, offering structured bullet points for it. I find that it's also really nice if you've already got a list of however you take notes. If you're bullet pointing notes or anything like that, grab those, throw them in there, have it redo something for you to put your own writing into more like of a narrative, right? So you're doing all this through prompt modeling basics, and the the common I think format for this is you're selecting an AI tool, right? So it could be ChatGPT, could be Copilot, could be Gemini, could be another AI helper. There's tons of them now. First thing you're doing is you're defining the role for it. So it can be as simple as you're my research assistant, and you're explaining the role as you would if you were hiring a research assistant, right? Or if you had an intern, anything like that. Then you're asking specifically what you want of it to do. I tend to go with like some of the lower hanging fruit first, just to kind of get a sense of what it's producing. So I'll say something like summarize this paper in 4 bullet points, or how does this article address the concept of something? Could be a specific term that you're looking at, right? If you're looking at something like student success or student retention, you might just ask the article, what does it say about student retention? You don't really care about any of the other stuff. And you have to be clear and iterative, right? So you have to refine these prompts as needed. You have to keep adding to it. You have to keep working on them. Here's kind of a quick graphic I found that I thought was kind of nice about points that are required for writing an AI prompt. You're defining tasks, being specific, providing context, providing clear instructions. It's usually helpful if you have a target audience that you're trying to look for and write for, and you're always asking it open-ended questions when you need to. You know, that one's a little interesting because I feel like you can ask it like close-ended questions as well, because it can provide you like quick information like that, but you'll get richer answers if you're using open-ended questions. And I thought this was a really cool kind of visual about how you can make a prompt like insanely detailed, right? So the first one is just an okay one. Hey, I need a lesson plan about multiplying fractions for 5th graders. Better one, act as an expert mathematician and teacher, skilled in designing engaging learning experiences for upper elementary students, design a lesson plan about multiplying fractions for 5th grade students. That one's okay, that one's better. And then the best one you can do is when you're getting towards this level of detail, you're an expert mathematician, skilled in universal design for learning, design an accessible lesson plan, multiplying fractions. The lesson should include hands-on activity, frequent opportunities for collaboration, format your response in a table. I probably would have said also how much time the lesson should be up front, but I'm sure, you know, you could see what it comes up with first. And then you can ask it, hey, I need it in a 50-minute class or something like that. But that kind of sets you up better to see exactly how it might look over like 50 or 75-minute classroom period. So using ChatGPT as a research assistant, the steps are you're providing the context, uploading the article that you want it to look at, asking for an overview or summary of that article, requesting in bullet point form, table form if you want, however you want the format to be is up to you. You're looking for main argument, findings, methods, discussion, right? You can pinpoint the references in the text too. You can ask it, please tell me where this is at, because then you can go back and check it against what it's coming up with. You don't want to obviously trust the output blindly, but you can have it point out to you where things are, and then you can go read them yourself, whether it's just a section or maybe it's, you know, maybe you end up reading a ChatGPT summary of it and you think this whole paper is worth reading for me. There's a copyright note here. If you come across materials that you don't maybe want to add into the LLM, the large language model, and kind of feedback into it, you can always do a temporary chat where you turn it off so it doesn't save or reuse that text. A lot of the articles that we're looking at today are open access articles, so there's no problem against using that, and many articles are starting to turn that way because the publishers themselves are creating their own AI tools.
I was just gonna the UWM Copilot.
Mm-hmm.
So that, oh, just, could you comment on that, given like what?
UWM Copilot. So the UWM Copilot is like part of our Office 365 suite, right? So we sign in with our like SSO and all of our multi-factor authentication and credentials and things like that. So that one is kind of designed to not feed back in because of the agreements that we've signed with them. So you could kind of use Copilot really at will with a lot of this information. You still want to be a little protective of what you're putting in there, but there's a lot more opportunity with that one just because we have formal agreements with Microsoft.
Yeah. Oh, and that was, yeah, Kristen had that as well. Thanks for that question. I've been worrying about Copilot because so far they haven't approved it for FERPA yet.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like the formal approvals are there. They aren't changing anything, but that it is from what our agreements are, that this has the business security of we aren't sending this information back. We aren't training on this. This is all just staying here. This is for your use, and then it won't go any further. Sort of like your OneDrive account or whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So Copilot would be a great one to use and experiment with. I personally GPT was the first one. That's the one that I've always used. So I use that a lot. So I use a lot of temporary chatting on
So it's not saved
GPT,
then.
so it doesn't save and it doesn't upload back. And I also have a paid account for GPT, so
which gives you more of that.
Yeah. So why use AI for any of this? We've kind of touched on some of these already, but I always think it's like when the abstract is not enough. So you might have a list of articles that you pulled for something that you're writing, and you have like at the top is like home runs, right? It's like things that you're going to have to read, things that you've seen cited in other papers, so you know that it's relevant. But then you start getting towards like the bottom, right? The fringe articles that you kind of have where you're like, I don't know, I pulled it because it had something in the title or it had some keyword listed and you're like, it might be relevant. But you don't want to throw all of your effort after reading, a 25, 30, 40 page article and you don't really get anything out of it. So you can fling that into Copilot or GPT, ask it to summarize things, target certain things that you're looking for specifically for your research. I think that's probably the best bet for it is that, hey, I want to know exactly what they're saying about like student retention, if that's what I'm looking at as a student retention topic. So let AI dissect the main arguments to you, and then you can decide if it's worth actually going and reading with your own eyes. That's pretty much the big reason to use AI. So if we think about if we take off our researcher cap and we kind of put on our teacher cap now, and we think about classroom integrations, for students, it's giving them skills to be, have faster comprehension and efficiency when they're looking at research articles and materials. It also has the potential, I think, for you to assign more resources. If this is how you're going to set up your students to start looking at information, you can definitely assign more things to have them evaluate if you're teaching them and helping them use AI to kind of dissect articles. It's encouraging critical reading. And the publishers are really starting to catch on to this. Lane made a great point about this to me when we were kind of designing this project a couple of weeks ago, which was like JSTOR already has a built-in AI tool, which means every other publisher is building an AI tool that you're going to go on their database and they're just going to have you stay in there, which will be helpful for them because then you don't leave their space and then they control what it feeds back into the larger model and, et cetera, et cetera. But that's coming down the line. So if it's sitting there and a student, you're telling a student, I want you to go do an annotated bib for 10 articles and you send them to JSTOR and there's already an AI tool that's just looking at them on JSTOR, they're going to use it. So we're kind of thinking about this now from a classroom application perspective to see how we can kind of get in there before they just start doing that exact same thing with the kind of native AI tools that the publishers are already designing. So we can kind of help with prompt building and we could show them and demonstrate to students what they should be looking for in an article so that they already have those questions on hand when they kind of investigate research articles for their own stuff.
Just about the JSTOR one, because I was playing with this yesterday. We have, and I'll share this on the chat, but we did a presentation. The library came in and talked about JSTOR's AI tool last May, which I'll share. And then they had JSTOR came in and talked with UWM in September and said, oh, we're going to have this on, this month, this year. They still don't have it on by default, I've noticed, because I've been checking them out. It is available though. You just have to ask for it, which is super easy to do. So it's not, the students aren't going to find it yet, but they've been tinkering with it, and it has been improving from when I played with it first in May to what I was using in the fall and then this spring. Like its abilities it understands differences between arguments and how the structure of a very complex paper is set out. They know, it reads it very well. It's not available yet for students, but it's something I think that would be very handy for you as instructors to check that out. I'll put the handout from last May so you can see how to sign up for it. It's really a simple process. So yeah, just for that.
No, that's great. So thinking about document discussion in the classroom, enhancing reading comprehension, right? So we can guide students to break down complex articles into digestible parts, provide a framework for students to analyze research by highlighting those key points that they can find and pull out of there. If we're thinking of discussion prompts and activities, a lot of you already mentioned you're creating questions and materials using AI and creating assignments and things for students, case studies. So we can do that same thing, and we can teach students how to do that same thing, where we can enable them to identify which sections support, and like the summaries of each, it could be the findings section or discussion section, a method section if you're looking at methodology, right? If we think of critical thinking and analysis, we can create these summaries from research articles and then challenge students to compare those GPT or AI summaries with their own. We might not have them do this first. We might have them actually go and read the article, create, follow a guide. What's the thesis? What are the main arguments? What are the methods? Then we use GPT to generate. I use GPT as the instructor to generate a summary of it, hand that to student. They compare what they pulled out versus what GPT pulled out, right? So you can have them kind of do an exercise like that. Encourage debate on the discrepancies and the alternative interpretations of the text. I think it's important that they know that it's not 100%, that there still needs to be some critical analysis of what GPT or any AI tool is coming up with. And it's a good active learning activity. So you can use it as a starting point for group activities where students refine and expand an AI analysis, right? We could, as instructors, we could tell GPT, hey, I want a very weak summary, because you can tell it that you want it to be bad purposefully, right? So we can create a purposely bad summary of an article and then hand that off to groups of students in class and say, hey, how is this right? What's weak about this? What is it missing? And have them use GPT to go into an article and pull out what's actually the strongest parts of it. And then you can use it to, I think, to develop follow-up questions that they could share out to the whole class. So you could have them create a list of questions themselves, or they could use AI to create some of those questions. So now we're towards the activity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So we're going to do some hands-on work with this. I think.
Oh, before we do, we should do questions though. I have one.
Oh, you want to do questions first?
And then we'll just we'll walk. So on the handout that I've sent to all of you in the chat, and I can send it again as well. There is a prompt engineering challenge, and we're going to walk through this together. And maybe Ben, you want to show ChatGPT, and I can show Claude, which they operate a little bit differently.
Sure.
And so we can show you some of those differences, and then if you would like, we can walk through this as well. You can walk through this as well using your own tool. The two articles we have are open source, so they've already been scanned by AI likely. So we aren't doing anything that hasn't already been done. It's open source tools. And then we'll ask it some methodological question or some research questions, such as methodology, looking at limitations of the research. Kind of ask questions of this long research project or even of the abstracts to kind of show how this might happen within research or how you might walk students through this as well. But let's go to the questions now. Let's see. I see what's another one online. Is there a way to visualize research trends / topics using AI? And Alex, how do you mean visualize research trends? You can either put that in chat or we got audio working, so you can talk to us as well.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Yeah, well, thank you, Benjamin and Lane, for setting this up, first of all. So instead of looking and gathering a bunch of different research articles and copying and pasting them into the agent, could you ask AI to like visualize by author or by maybe category of research, sort of where new articles are being published? Does that make sense?
I know Consensus is built to do a lot of that. It's going to privilege the online resources that are academic. So Consensus is going to do some of that for you. Visualization, though, like implies some sort of graph, which is where I'm kind of like, oh, I wonder how that would do that.
Yeah, I've never asked it.
Yeah, I've never asked it.
Visualize like that.
I think that's a question we could put in there, though. So we could put the AI. What might be kind of interesting is to put the article in, get the AI familiar with what we're asking about, and say, hey, could you visualize where these topics are being published? And then we can try that out. That's a great prompt to put in there.
Alex, to your second question, can AI be used to identify prominent authors, journals, et cetera, in the field? I think yes. I've tried it. I don't think it's foolproof. But so what I did a couple months ago, I was writing something and I kind of didn't really use AI for any of the setup or help with it at all. So I had tons of citations already, that from prominent authors in the field. And then one day I was just like, hey, I went to GPT and I said, hey, who are the leading authors of this topic?
Yeah.
And then since I already had authors pulled and cited with some of the highest citation, thousands of citations in other papers, I knew what was prominent in this specific thing. I wanted to make sure I knew who were the already prominent, because then I'd be like, oh, okay, it's came up with this list. They must be great. And it was like probably 95% accurate on who it pulled and who it told me. So-and-so is, this author, this author, this author. And it gave me the kind of nuanced differences between, they're all talking about the same thing, but some are coming from different angles. So it'd be like, they're coming at this from this angle, and this author has published from this perspective and all this stuff. So it was able to generate a pretty reliable list of people, at least enough for you to have names now that you can go search for, right? So you could, if it came up with, if you asked it for 10 names and you took like the top 7, I think you'd find articles that are exactly what you're looking for if you went about it that way.
And every time I do this, it gets better.
Yeah,
it does. And so like, I remember David was talking about this in January, is that, hey, we talk about like things that hallucinate, AI hallucinates, it does kind of weird things. And it did. And it still, maybe it does a little bit, but it is not hallucinating like it was in 2023. It is really spot on. It's checking its own work now. It's being trained. That's what the O models I've been doing, is it's training to think it through the answer before it gives it to you. So sometimes you'll see it kind of wait a bit and then think through the answer and give it. So yeah, it's going to do all of those things that you were asking it to do. There may be little hiccups in there, but I really treat it like an expert in the field, just like that person might be mistaken on the date of one minor thing, or like, oh, it's Carl versus Kyle, they might get those names a little mixed up, but it gives you enough information that you can start then doing some meaningful like back checking and kind of going through, which is what you're going to do anyways, like you would with anything you ask a person or you ask a research assistant. You're going to go and follow up and look. You aren't going to say, that's good enough, we're done. You're going to go start looking through that. And that's where it speeds things up so much more quickly than Google or search engines, even, library search engines. It's so intuitive to what you need, because that AI is so trained to look at the context, not just the exact search terms, which is really good.
And right now it depends on which level of AI you ask.
Yeah.
Like, right? Because so I have like limited access to, I think it's 4.5, which is their like their research model
yeah.
where it does deeper things. And it's the one where even though I have a paid account, they limit how many times I can use it in a month.
Yeah.
Because that's how like advanced it is and how much digging it goes through. But so if you ask 4.5 something versus 3.0, you're gonna get different, you're gonna get a different level of digging and pulling out of the higher one just because of what it's trained to do.
And Google's advanced AI too, it has its research model. So if you can go look this one up as well, Google has a research model that it does, and you have to pay for it though. There is a free 3 month subscription, 3 month subscription. I use that, and it's amazing at how deep it can go in for research. And it just says, okay, wait, and I'm going to come up with something, and it just takes a minute where it's actually thinking through what you're doing. You can actually see it think because it writes out the script of like, I'm thinking about this, this, and this, and this, and then. Yeah, and then it's like, okay, now I've got it. Okay, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to look through this page and these sites, and then I'm going to dig through some more, and then it gives you the answer. So they are all of this research questions. This is not 2024 or 2023's AI. This is getting better.
I'm glad you mentioned that though, because I've actually found some benefit in reading through the script that it's giving us of how it's putting things together.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten some good ideas of how to reorganize something, or how to, like, it'll say like, for example, it'll be like, they want me to do this, and I'm doing this about this by pulling this and this together, and it's like, but it's telling you why those things are related. Like it's showing what its process is in relating things, and I've gotten ideas for things that I missed because of the way it's organizing. Like my brain organized it differently than it, and I'm seeing, oh, that's a better way of putting it 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Instead, I had it like 3, 1, 2, right? So it's just like I've gotten a lot out of that kind of watching it work.
Yeah, it's to me, it's kind of like when I was in college, and I'd have friends, we'd work together on a calc class, and I would approach math from where I grew up with Saxon math. And so I'd approach all my calculus as I would with Saxon. And my friends had, like, let's just say Singapore, which approaches these equations differently. So my friends would be able to help me solve problems I couldn't understand because they're approaching the math differently. I could help them approach math different, solve problems that they could because I approach math differently. And it's the same with this. It approaches the research project slightly different trajectories or methods that gives you new insight that can be really helpful. So definitely just play with that. Yeah.
So my first question is actually, yes, I use the Google Bard, Gemini. So this is actually the free version is 2.0, right?
Yeah.
So you are already mentioned that you are using 4.5, right? And it's a paid version though.
Yeah.
So actually, how do you distinguish the changes of 3.0 and 4?
How do I deal with the changes?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot of redoing things because then I'm like, there's stuff that I did like 6 months ago that I'm like, okay, maybe I should rerun it through this newer one and see if it comes up with something like drastically different. I think it's hard to keep up, like, because we're even comparing across 2 different developers, right?
Yeah.
So like even like what Bard could do is different from what GPT could do at the time. And now we're on GPT 4.5 and Gemini's. What is Gemini's?
I can't remember. It's like Research Pro, and there's different models. It's still Gemini, but yeah.
But I've heard from people, very authoritative sources on AI, that Google just jumped.
Yeah, Google got
the top,
way better.
Like Google just even got over like OpenAI.
Gemini is Google, right?
It depends on what question you're asking.
So far I'm going through, last couple of months. I find it's pretty, pretty useful because I get what I actually, desire or what I expected, right?
Yeah.
So in many cases, I'm satisfied. So as you mentioned, the paid version, okay, fine. I can go with the paid version. So, but how I can, what is actually, in some cases, the problem I face, if it's a bigger article, then there is a text limitation, Then how you mitigate it?
So if you do have like a paper, like I just have the $20 a month account like thing, but it gets away from all of that. Like you're able to upload PDF. You don't have to copy text. and like, because that's how I like a year or two ago, it was like you couldn't upload anything. You just had to copy and paste things over, right? And then you'd hit text limit. So then you'd have to break it up, and you'd be doing, okay, I'm going to do the first third, and then the second third, and then that's how you would operate with it. Now you can upload PDF directly, so you can just say, hey, take this, consume it, and start ripping it apart.
Image as well. Sometimes there are some articles, older version.
Yeah.
You are not able to copy. So, but you can upload the image. I mean, scanning image.
You want to OCR it.
If it is a paid version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would want to OCR
If it's
that.
you'd want to do the character recognition on it if it's an image or a PDF. But yeah, I mean, like the biggest thing with the paid model right now is that you can get access to the top models that they're creating. But then, like I said, they even limit you though. You have to then you get into kind of the capitalist tier system, because then I think it's called GPT Plus.
Yeah.
Then there's GPT Pro, and then there's that
insane.
super $200 a month one that
I have one more question.
Oh, sure.
In the case of, as I mentioned, I use the Gemini, from the very beginning, and I find it's good, helpful for me so far. But if I like to, switch to other, like, as we mentioned, either ChatGPT or Copilot, so does it affect, as Gemini has my history, right?
Yeah.
As I'm putting a lot of information, understand my input at the same time, right? So is there any, if I change the, the platform, does it affect, or?
It would, in the sense that, like, if you've been using the same chat for one, you've kind of been training like your own agent.
That's within the chat itself.
Yeah,
But Gemini doesn't know. Every time you go to it with a new chat, it's a new chat. It doesn't know all the other context.
Yeah,
but if you're using like one that you've been going back to over and over again, like I've done that I do that for this pod proposal. Like I've been doing everything I've for a year. I've just been adding to this one. So that's like my personal research assistant for that project. And it knows everything that I've ever uploaded to it, right?
Yes.
But if I took that and I went to Gemini, I'd have to start all over.
Or if you went to a new chat.
Or went to a new chat, and
just
overall, it forgets it.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
you have to keep it kind of focused. For Maria's question,
Yes, I was going to say. That's good.
AI can't access articles that are behind paywalls, behind logins. So think like, EBSCO, there's things that you find in there that you need to log into on like Sage or some publisher. It's not going to be able to pull that. It'll be able to index what's publicly available.
Mhm.
So it might be able to pull abstract information. It might, if you ask it for something, hey, can you show me articles on this? It might be able to pull it based on the abstract, but it wouldn't be able to like start pulling from the article itself. But a lot of open access articles can just be indexed, but the whole article will be indexed. So if a lot of the information I think you'll find comes from publicly available articles like that.
If I could, because that's why JSTOR is building its own AI into JSTOR, right? That's one of the reasons. The other thing as well is a lot of those abstracts are open source. And so things like Consensus knows that, hey, this is a highly cited source. This is the abstract, and then it's going to build it out. So those are all open access. They're searching through that. And then you can, if you most of these tools now, especially like Gemini, and then Claude does this as well. And I think GPT does this. They will connect to your clouds. So you can train it to say, okay, look through my cloud, and I want to do research. I have a lot of research articles in there. Articles I've already loaded up. They aren't available online. They're either mine or they're just protected. And this is a paid version, so it's not supposed to go out. I'm saying supposed because I don't know all the details. It's a black box. But it will search through those documents to then pull out information. So you can train it to do exactly that it's not open source. You can train it to do that. Or you can go to the tools that you have, that you say, do not share this, and then put those files in to get that information and then not break the copyright. Putting those supposed to. But so you can do some of that. So it's a great question, Maria. And it just depends on how you set up that AI and just to kind of know some of the possibilities of it. So it's a great question. Yeah.
Hey,
It's
Lane,
fun.
how would you do that? Like how, if you have articles saved what does the database need to be? Could it be Dropbox or does it need to be OneDrive? Like where can you save those articles so that AI can reference?
The ones that I know is all Google Docs. It's all Google Docs. The Google Drive is what tends to
Okay.
be the ones that I've seen. That's what like Claude is like, we now can access Google Docs. And Google obviously has that integrated as well. Copilot will look through your OneDrive. So this is one of the ways that they're trying to break up the market and keep you within their ecosystem is say, hey, look, if you want to, access to all of your OneDrive files, use Copilot. And so it just depends on what the agreements are. So I can't say there's one answer. It changes based on the tool and on the day. So those are
Huh.
that
All
answer.
right. Thanks.
Yeah. But check it out though. Just go investigate and you'll find out what you can and cannot do. So, yep. Ben, do you want to show so can we go, if there's any more questions, I'd be happy to, you had some great questions. And I really appreciate Ben as well. I really like the idea of going through your annotations, like putting those, like that bibliography. That's such a great idea. That's one I hadn't thought of. Like, put your bibliography in there that you're using to see where else you need to go. Yeah, these are wonderful. And so this is Chat GPT, and then can you show them like putting the abstract in or the paper, and then what questions you want to ask, and then I have some of your ideas that I've lifted, and I'll do that for Claude, and I'll share that one so people can see the difference. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
And then please, if you want, do this yourself on your own AI tool. We have the articles that are already open source. The Department of Education is a PDF, and the Springer Open article that's just online, right? Yeah, so that
you can download the PDF from that link.
Yeah, so just so you know, there's slightly different variations. I'm going to go into Claude and I'll share my screen in a moment, but Ben, please walk us through.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like kind of the way we can go about this is there's slide here that's like prompts you can use, right? And this is kind of like a built out prompt that I've made to kind of run through how I kind of go about telling AI how I want it to be my helper. Right, so I provide you with text from an academic article. Your job is help me understand it thoroughly. Please do not store or reuse any of it. If any part of the article is unclear or missing, let me know what you need clarified. I think that's a really important thing to note to it is that you have to tell it if you want it to ask you like questions, right? Because if you just ask for something, it'll just give it to you. But if you're saying if you can't find a certain thing or you're not clear about it, just point that out to me. Then it'll highlight it for you. So really you can kind of take this whole thing. I don't know if this is available to them.
But I can make it so.
Because I would just
I'll put that in the Google Doc.
Yeah, I would kind of I would like enter this right into it, like just straight up off the bat. And then it'll start. I'm using O3 mini right here because I don't really have any
prompt you can use. Okay.
So here I gave it that prompt that I created, gave it the article. Now it says it reasoned, so it did all this in 17 seconds, which I always think is kind of like funny. It's how it tells you how long it takes. But here's a four point summary of the main argument, right? And I haven't read this article either, so.
Is it the Department of Education article?
I used, I think I used this one. Oh wait, no, I didn't use this one. Oh, I did use this one. Maybe I used the wrong one here. Let me see.
AI and the Future of Teaching and Learning. Is it an article?
I thought I used this one, the state of the field. Yeah, I did use that one.
Not in the shared doc.
Did I?
Okay, the second one.
Is it the second one?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the second one. So let's see. And this was let's look at it overall, right? A 22 page, about 20 pages without the references.
So what are we supposed to do?
There's in the Google Doc, I think Lane posted the prompt.
Yes, I put the prompt that you just put in, I put that in the Google Doc. So I just put it in right now. So it's all there. And then, so you can copy and paste that into your own AI tool. I'm editing it because I'm adding the question from Alex.
Oh, the visual.
Yeah, so I'll show you that process, what I do for editing.
The AI tool we're using is ChatGPT.
You can use
whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I use GPT, but you can use Copilot if you want. You can use Gemini,
consensus, complexity.
Yeah, there's so many now. So it's whatever you have access to or whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, let's. And then if you use the prompt that I wrote, it'll say, I'm ready for you to send the article over. Once it kind of verifies the instructions, right? So it says, I'm ready to assist. Please go ahead and share the text. Let's see, the first one, rapid increase in AI in higher education. Notes significant growth in the number of peer-reviewed publications on AI with a notable surge in 2021 and 2022. And then it gives me the location, right? Saying it's in the findings and discussion sections, pages 8 through 9. We can pull that up. It's not right on the page number, I don't think.
Claude is contemplating.
Oh, this finding discussion. Okay. Oh, here's the thing I asked is if it was specifically asking about undergrad students.
Are you just confirming what you've been finding or something?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I'm going through where it's telling me things are at and making sure that they're there.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. So it's pretty accurate what you've been finding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went through this as well with the document that I uploaded, and it was Claude was spot on there. It was, yeah, it was for what I was finding. But I can share. Should I share mine?
Yeah, share yours.
Okay. I will share mine. If you're done, I don't know. Let's see. Where's my Zoom? Controls. So I'll share kind of my process as well. So what I often do is I go into like a simple text editor and I took Ben's prompt and I pasted in there because I never can work in like Claude because I always hit enter by a mistake and then it just starts working, which drives me nuts. So what I did is I put Ben's prompt in and then I tweaked it a little bit. So I added this question right here, which is from Alex, kind of talking about the publishers working on this topic. Maybe it's not exactly what you wanted, Alex, but it's what I came up with. I kind of tweaked it around. I edited it in here. So then I copied and pasted this and I threw it into Claude. Now I had already uploaded the PDF. So this is a 70-page document that that the Department of Education had published. It's open access. It's all that. The AI tools are already researching it. So this is the PDF's right there. And then I put the prompt in And then it gave me a summary, which is fairly close. I can remember the page numbers as well. Like this was the summary section. So it's kind of going through the summary and the main arguments. It's giving me a nice analysis. This is all the stuff that Ben had in the prompt, which is really wise to get those page numbers because that's sometimes you want to make sure you actually find it, right? And I always forget to do that when I'm doing this. So this is really helpful. So it goes through the pages, recommended favorite. There's the publishers that work on AI. It says, hey, this document doesn't specifically list other publishers. However, it does reference several organizations. So government policy organizations, research, academic publishers. And then it has some follow-up questions. Again, this prompt is a great prompt. It kind of does all the work for you. So just copying and pasting this can be really helpful. And then tweaking it to your own use. And then I added another one because I wanted to get more on, hey, use your own training and anything else you can access online. This is a question I asked to identify other publishers and authors working in this field. And then it goes through and I recognize some of them I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I really recognize this one. Maybe it's not going to be helpful. Authors and researchers, some of these I recognize, some of them I don't. Major works, reports, citation and influence. So again, it's going through citations. I don't know exactly where it's getting this. I could probably pull that out to see if I found more information. But again, this is helping me dissect a 70-page paper really quickly, which will tell me whether or not I really want to read it and help me find where I should be reading this without actually having to go through and spend time trying to dissect it myself, which again, this is about speed. And it's really about like how you would use a research assistant, right? This is how you exactly what you would do with a research assistant that you paid, but they're doing this for free or not free, for $20 a month. And
And our funding's all frozen and students aren't getting, you know what I mean? So this kind of stuff is like really pertinent now more than
absolutely.
ever. And yeah, it's also like,
Makes sense.
what was I gonna say? There was one thing I was gonna say real quick about what Ling was just saying. Oh, so a lot of people I've heard say, well, why don't I just use Command F, right? Like what the search function, like on, you know, like you type in a word and it highlights it. And it's like, that's good if you're just looking for the word. But like I said before, there's other disciplines that are talking about the same things that we go into, and they might not use the same word, but that article might have, you know, like a home run citation that you've been looking for 2 days. And you might find it in like, and that's happened to me, right? It's like I found something in human resource development that I would never find in educational development, but it was talking about the same thing, talking about the same professional learning. And I just had to call, it's just called something else. And then once I figured out what that was called, then I had a whole new swath of articles that I could go after because there was an already established field in HR about this. And I thought that so I think like the search functioning it has served us well, right? Like it's searching PDFs for specific words. That has been amazing, but now we've evolved. And this does the search functioning for you and everything, and it does some analysis and it shows you exactly where it's at.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I'm just so excited about what you were talking about, because I was just like, one of the things I use AI a lot for is if I'm like writing and I'm like, oh, I have this word I want, right? And I want a word like marketing, and it can go towards like, you know, more propaganda, or it can go towards more commercial, you know, there's multiple synonyms and branches of synonyms with marketing, but I can put that into AI and say, this is the context. This is a sentence. I'm using this word. I want alternatives. So it understands the context and then gives you words that are very suited for that. And that's what this is doing here. It's like, okay, look, I'm looking for this word and I'm doing this type of research. I don't know other words that might be as similar, or topics or methodologies that might be similar to what I'm looking for. It'll look for the context and not just the word, that's the part that's the game changer, because it's a 70-page document that it can go through and say, look, you really want to focus on page 22. This paragraph is all about what you're doing. And
yeah, I mean, I haven't even like asked it this before, but that just made me think, I mean, like you could ask about tone. Yeah. So you could say, hey, where does this report get grim? Yeah. Like when does this take a turn? Yeah. And I mean, you could, I don't know how good it would be, but that's like the level of critical analysis that these models are getting to.
It's reading
is
between
that-
the lines.
Yeah,
That's
and I think that's
so
really
cool.
interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe a little scary, but also kind of cool. That we're getting towards in a way where you can be like, yeah, when does the bad part of this report happen?
Yeah.
When do the numbers go bad?
Or
Like,
when is it actually, when is it, this is the real stuff versus the fluff that they had to put in there at the beginning
Yeah,
or whatever.
right.
It's like, where's the stuff that's
Exactly.
core? Well, thank you very much, Ben. Everybody's clapping online.